Hi there, Jono here. On a regular basis, I need to test use cases, software configuration, and network setups for customers. I also wanted to start working on guides showing more advanced setups that would require multiple servers, networking equipment, and cable, which can be problematic both in terms of cost and physical space. So I was thinking about how I could use my single home lab server to better achieve this juggling of tasks, and that's when it hit me. Why not use EVE-NG or GNS3? So EVE-NG, or Emulated Virtual Environments Next Generation, and GNS3, or Graphical Network Simulator 3, are in a sense hypervisors, which allow you to create virtual machines and containers, which in EVE-NG are called nodes and in GNS3 are called appliances. These are then used in a drag and drop fashion where you can quickly and easily create virtual networks which can then be used in real world deployment. In the past, I never really owned a device that was powerful enough to run these tools, but nowadays hardware has become so powerful you can run these tools on relatively cheap laptops and PCs. Since it has been so long since I've tried the tools, I'll be giving them both a try again. In this guide, I'll be using EVE-NG's Community Edition and will do a few labs in it to give it a fair test. In future guides, I will move over to GNS3, and after giving that a good test, I will make a video on my experiences. Now let's move on to the meat of this guide, and that is how to install EVE-NG on a virtual machine in Proxmox. So the first thing I'm going to do is go on EVE-NG's website and download the Community Edition ISO. Then in Proxmox, I'm just going to go to my drive that has all the ISO images, and I'm going to upload it there. Okay, the next thing we need to do is make sure nested virtualization is enabled. Nested virtualization allows you to run virtualized or hypervisors within a virtual machine, which is how these tools work. We need to check that it is enabled on Proxmox. If I remember correctly, it used to be disabled by default. However, with all my new Proxmox installations, it appears to be enabled by default. So depending if you have an Intel or AMD CPU, you need to type in the following. It will either show a Y or an N. Y to indicate that it is enabled, or N if not. If it is disabled, all you have to do is the following. So for Intel, you can do this, and then for AMD you do this. Once it is completed, you fill in the following to restart the kernel module, and then you can check again to see if it's enabled. It is recommended to reboot the entire Proxmox instance, but that is up to you. Now the next thing we're going to do is create the virtual machine. So for this, I'm just going to call it EVE-NG. When you click next, I'm going to find the ISO that we uploaded. So mine is under local. Choose next. For the system, I'm going to leave everything as is. It's fine, so we can just click next. For the disk, since we're going to have a lot of virtual machines in it, the more the merrier. So minimum I would recommend is 100 gigabytes. So I've got a backup hard drive which has quite a lot of space left. I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to set it, so minimum I recommend is 100, but I'm going to just set it as 200 gigs for now because I plan on doing quite a lot on it. So for the bus device, you can leave it as SCSI, but I saw a lot of people say that they got better results using the VirtIO block but it's up to you. I have not tested this, so I don't know if it is true or not. Okay, with CPU, again, the more the merrier, but I would recommend 4 cores minimum. And then this is very important, the type has to be host. With memory, I'd recommend minimum of 4, depending on what you're doing. But again, more the merrier. Later on, I actually increased it to 16 gigs. For the network, you need to attach it to a network that has internet. So I'm going to add it to my management network. It is important that it has internet connection, since the installation does a lot of cloud init, so it will, while it's installing, it will go and download packages and applications to install. I'm going to disable the firewall, and then we can press start to complete it. Yeah, so installing EVNG, you can just pretty much let it run. It will then collect to cloud init, and it will start downloading and just installing everything it needs. Depending on the speed of your internet, this can take a long time. So I've sped this up to about 1200%. So yeah, it took a very long time. Please note, when you see for the first time to log in, don't log in. Just leave it to do its thing. It will restart a couple of times as it installs what it needs. So again, it can take a very long time. You just have to have patience and wait for it. Once it's ready, it will send you to the configuration page. So you'll see it will be a blue background, and it will ask you a couple of questions. So you can just fill it into what you need. Okay, so once it's ready, it will sit like this. We can then enter in the IP address to access the web UI. So in this case, it's I had it as DHCP, so it gave me 10.0.0.15. The default user and password, it's admin and Eve, so EVE, all small letters. And there we go, it's installed and running. Now I just want to show you, if for example you have made a mistake in configuring EVNG, this is how you can reconfigure it. So what we need to do is remove the configured file from it. So we'll type rm space -f, so force, and then it's in opt ovf and then configured. Once you have deleted that file, you can just write su space and dash and enter. This will then rerun the configuration wizard. In the next video, I'll show you how to create an OpenSense node, and then I'll show you how, or the way I went about setting it up and then giving us access to the web UI in order to work with the OpenSense node. If this video helped you, please consider liking and subscribing. I'll appreciate it. It helps grow the channel. And then until then, I'll see you in the next one.